Bill Gates is the co-founder of Microsoft Corporation, who changed the world by revolutionizing the way we use computers. He went from dropping out of Harvard in order to start Microsoft to becoming one of the richest men on the planet and one of the world's biggest philanthropists with a net worth of $105.6 billion. Need motivation?
Watch your top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Bill Gates, and my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Be ambitious.
Let's say you're interviewing for a junior engineer position at Microsoft. Sitting in a boardroom or on video call in 2020. Why should we hire you?
You should look at the code that I've written. You know, I'm kind of crazy. I write software programs way beyond any classes that I've taken and think I've gotten better over time. So take a look at how ambitious I've been there. I do think I can work well with people. I might criticize their code a little harshly, but overall, I like to be on a team. I like ambitious goals. I like thinking through how we can anticipate the future. Software is cool, and I want to be involved.
Rule number 2, have no regrets.
So do you have any regrets in your life? You seem to have a life that most people would love to live. You got a happy family, great marriage, foundation, business success. Is there anything, can you make us feel good by saying you've done something that didn't work out, or just make us, because all of us feel bad because we look at you and we can't do what you've done. So tell us something that's bad that you've done or you feel inadequate about. Something, there must be something.
No, I am super lucky. You know, they marrying Melinda, the experience at Microsoft, that although it had its ups and downs was phenomenal. The work of the foundation, and
no regrets about anything.
I wouldn't try and go back and change anything. I mean, for example, the antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft, you know, was bad for the company. It created a lot of distraction. We would have done a lot of things, including the mobile operating system, better if it hadn't been for that. But in a way, it was a lesson for me, and you know, so it probably accelerated my retirement by 5 or 6 years, which overall for me probably was a good thing. You know, I don't think it was a principled set of activities, but that's another story.
Rule number 3, find a way to learn.
If you want to learn computer science, just, you know, Knuth wrote the book, buy it, okay. You know, read it and do the problems for if you really think you know this thing. If you want to learn physics, Feynman wrote the book. Just read the damn book. It's all there. So that when we put stuff online, we don't have anything in online physics that's any better than Feynman's book, honestly. Now, it's a little easier to learn. You know, the guy makes jokes every 20 minutes, or at least tries to, and he does more demos and things. So learning is a weird social phenomena. And so, you know, our foundation, our big problem is that the group that does the worst with online learning are low-income students, because their notion of why am I learning, their sense of self-confidence, the ability to figure out, oh, I just got stuck because, you know, 2 minuses cancel out, and I never saw that notation before. They just hit dead ends all the time, that if you're sitting in your dorm at Stanford, you know, somebody walks down and helps you get through it.
Rule number 4, learn from mistakes.
As usual, if you have, you know, negative consequences for mistakes, it kind of discourages that completing the loop type system. There are a few cases, like in civil aviation, where the willingness to look at mistakes and apply massive resources, like we're seeing today, to say, okay, what went wrong here? It really is pretty mind-blowing.
Also, if you want to have more self-belief and self-confidence, I've designed a special free program to help you get it, where I send you a video every day for 254 days. The research says it can take up to 254 days for you to build a new habit, and this program will help you get it. Once again, it's free, and the link to join is in the description below.
You really have to believe the internet's going to be mainstream. A lot of people are going to get out there and use it. If you ask people across the United States, is the future going to be better than the past? Most say no. I'm a weird dropout because I take college courses all the time. I love learning company courses and things, so I love being a student.
Rule number 5, have empathy.
I like to look at numbers a lot. And so when I look at the numbers, I'm just amazed, whether it's the quality of the inner city education, the dropout rates. Oprah did a thing where she had kids from an inner city school go look at the suburban school and vice versa. And they were just stunned that the building and everything was so completely different. So I think, even for me, I have to go, whether it's the inner city in America, talking to people who live there, or outside the US, we have this same thing. The situation in Africa, it's overwhelmingly black population, is so much worse than people are probably aware of. And so hands-on visits, whether it's to the schools or the clinics, I think that is necessary to hear the voices of people who've been hurt. And then, there's a lot of good movies now. There's a lot of good books. I was just reading the new Jim Crow, which is pretty eloquent and forceful about the justice system and the role that it plays in perpetuating bad conditions. And, it takes a lot to try and put yourself having empathy for other people. So we all have to push harder on this.
Rule number 6, have focus.
So today, people come to you all the time for money, I assume. Everywhere you go, people say, by the way, I have this thing you should invest in. I have a couple myself I'll mention later. No, I'm just kidding. No, a couple of things you should invest in or things you should give money to. So how do you resist it? You have some person who says no for you? Or how do you do that?
Many people.
Many people say no.
Well, once you've picked what you care about, if somebody has something that can make a difference in global health, we're super interested. And we have a staff of 1,500 people, and if it's to do with global health, some of those people will come out and talk through with you whatever your innovation is and how we can partner with you on that.
Okay.
So that's clearly in our area. If it is something that can substantially improve K through 12 education, then we're going to be very interested in it. If people are asking outside of those things, then fortunately you can say no, because focus is key to philanthropy.
Rule number 7, filter information.
The digital revolution, internet, social media, all of that, in certain respects, it's made it easier for us to see what's going on. Medical researchers are publishing articles every day, and all over the world, people can immediately see what the new thinking is there. Tracking the disease statistics, I click on the Johns Hopkins website every morning and see, okay, which countries are having a tough time with cases or deaths. Thank God for the internet. Work at home, our ability to connect up with each other is driven by that. But it also has meant that a lot of very surprisingly interesting conspiracy theories that are false, sadly, they spread a lot faster than the truth. So the idea that did somebody intentionally cause this thing, completely false, even in some cases accusing me of having some connection, that can be dangerous because it means, your willingness to believe, is the vaccine something I should take? Should I wear masks? If you go for these simple but wrong theories, getting people to work together and protect each other so we can get out of this as soon as possible, that's really at risk. You raised the question of how should the government deal with that. It's very difficult. Ideally, citizens are just well informed and they know which publications are very careful about what they say, and we don't have to engage in censorship. But so much of the almost crazy false information is out there that looking at the companies like Facebook and saying, okay, what is their role in that? When somebody says masks don't work, which is wrong, or they say just take hydroxychloroquine and you'll be totally safe. What is their responsibility for catching those things, particularly when they get out to large numbers? That is being debated. And, I think we'll come out of this with those companies feeling a stronger sense of responsibility and actually understanding, having the public debate about how they need to help here.
Rule number 8, avoid distractions.
There's no doubt that the antitrust lawsuit was bad for Microsoft, and we would have been more focused on creating the phone operating system. And so instead of using Android today, you would be using Windows Mobile. If it hadn't been for the antitrust case, Microsoft would have gone, oh, we were so close. I was just too distracted. I screwed that up because of the distraction. And we were just 3 months too late with the release that Motorola would have used on a phone. So yes, it's a winner-take-all game, that is for sure. That now nobody here's ever heard of Windows Mobile. But oh well. And I wouldn't, well, that's a few $100 billion here or there. I wouldn't have retired as soon. And that one is less, I am disappointed that Windows Mobile didn't succeed. But in terms of my own life, even though it was a very painful thing because I got very personally involved in the defense of the company, the fact that I retired earlier probably net was good for me because I got down the learning curve on the foundation. I got to partner with Melinda in the early days of the foundation. And I don't have a life where I'm allowed to complain because basically, only 99% of things have worked out very, very well.
Rule number 9, understand innovations.
I'm very lucky that my foundation work, the part-time work I do for Microsoft, I see that extending, for decades into the future. And having an understanding of innovation, I think shaping innovation in many of these areas, there is a unique role that I can help play.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is read.
The nice thing now that I'm not so extreme, in my 20s, I didn't get to read much at all. Yeah. And so like all this stuff is going on in biology and math, I just didn't get to read it. Then when I did get into my 30s, those vacations were a time to go back because when I was a student, you could study all sorts of things. Anyway, now, I read a lot of science, and that uses up, maybe half of the slots that I have. Really understanding U.S. poverty and what's going on there. There's a few dozen books that try and give you a glimpse of that are very good. This book, Factfulness, let me say, it definitely creates a framing for what's going on in the world. And the other one that's right up there is any Pinker book, starting with Better Angels of Our Nature.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and how are you gonna take action on it this week? When you schedule in what day, what time, and what place you're going to take action, you have a 91% chance of actually following through versus just a 35% chance if you just got motivated but never created a specific plan. And when you share your plan publicly and have some accountability, you increase your chances even further of actually following through. So I want to know your single biggest takeaway and your plan of action this week in the comments so I can celebrate you.
I do think that if you want to talk about software innovation, that at least listening to the ideas of people who've been successful in that area isn't such a bad thing. I mean, you literally say that we can't talk to politicians if you really think that sharing our opinions about, say, climate change or malaria or malnutrition or charter schools, if that's really bad, this group does have more free time. They have proven that they're energetic and can solve some things, and often they get into a phase of their life, like Steve Schwartzman is putting a lot of his energy and thought into very creative and I think what will be positively impactful philanthropy.
If you want to change your life for free in the next 30 days, check out my training right here below. Or if you want 50 more rules from Bill Gates, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy them. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.